Hello, and welcome to Fusion Writing, where building character meets creating structure. It's Tuesday, and that's our map day, and that means we're going to dive more deeply into the character traits that we're studying this week and the story structure that we're studying this week. I will turn it right over to Victoria to get us going.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Fusion Writing. So, in this map, we're going to talk about bad guys. Who doesn't love a good bad guy? But in order to look at a bad guy, you first have to look at your good guy. So, your protagonist, that's your hero. That's the person that's going to win the story, win the day, defeat the evil. With that said, I'm talking about this in the context of a traditional Western conflict-driven narrative. There's lots of other kinds of stories and ways of building stories, which I talk about in my book, Zettelkasten for Fiction, that will be coming out at the end of the year. But lots of different ways to write a story. For our purposes, let's just look at the black and white of good guys and bad guys. When we talk about a true villain, we're not talking about just an obstacle. Often when we talk about ways to hinder our good guy, we're talking about the qualities that are held by a traditional antagonist. Now, an antagonist and a villain are not the same thing for one simple reason. An antagonist simply represents either a speed bump or some kind of hindrance or temptation that gets in the way of your good guy. So your antagonist can be maybe someone who is the best friend of your good guy and doesn't approve of this romantic interest that your good guy has. And so as a best friend, they're going to try and discourage your good guy from pursuing that relationship because they've got the lowdown and they know this is not a good person they're going after. So there's no evil there. There's no bad intention. That's just someone hindering the progress towards this romance because they don't think it's a good idea. That's not a villain. A villain, by contrast, is someone who is truly evil, someone who wishes to harm that protagonist. It's a true, at the base of it, mean-spirited, evil person. So they want to completely shut down or take away any progress that your good guy has. So with that as our first principle, let's look at some of the key elements of what you build into a villain to make them effective. One of the first things is you know that it's not a coincidence that they have this intention to do your good guy harm. So there's no gray area. There's no, it could go this way or it could go that way. You're letting your reader know from the very beginning that this person is evil and they're out to get your good guy. No questions. That resolves any kind of speculation in the mind of your reader about what's really going on. That's just good story writing. Let them know who your bad guy is, pin him right out there so they can go, yeah, that's the one we need to get in the end. Because what you're doing is you're establishing rooting interest for your good guy. One of the ways that this is talked about in writer circles is having your bad guy early on in the story kick the puppy or whatever. You're going to have them do something that's just so evil and wrong. Your reader knows without question that is a very bad dude and I want my good guy to go beat him down. So you're rooting for your good guy if for no other reason than to avenge the kicked puppy. And that's, I say that in parentheses because that can be anything that just shows that this is a bad dude. Another second reliable source is that bad guy needs to provide constant reliable pressure. They are absolutely unequivocally against the good guy and they're going to take every shot they can. They're going to put on every little bit of pressure they can. They're going to send their minions. They're going to call their henchmen. They're going to go after him themselves. It's a constant source of pressure because what that does in your story is it provides dramatic tension. Every time that villain appears and strikes, he's pushing your bad guy back again. That's how your bad guy develops his good muscle, right? That's how you grow him through the story so that he's rising to meet that final challenge. And then another terrific attribute that you can give your villain, especially in the beginning of the story, again, to show that character arc, is give your villain either in intellect or skill more than you give your hero. Because if you know that your hero doesn't even know how to turn on a computer, but your villain is a computer mastermind genius, that's a great dynamic because now we already know, that bad dude is really bad and he can shut everything down. And yikes, my hero doesn't even know how to turn on a laptop. This is a problem. So again, you're giving your reader a reason to root for that good guy and experience his wins as he has them. He turned on the laptop. He got the stuff to upload. Now he's figuring out how to make it work. And then he sees something and realizes, I know how to do this. And then he wins the day and defeats the bad guy. You allow your reader to experience those wins at every turn, and it's a much more satisfying experience. By contrast, you're allowing your villain to experience each one of those defeats, which he redoubles his effort, he gathers his forces, but your good guy defeats him anyway. That's just a great conflict-driven story. So as a final item, I will leave you with what I like to think of as a triangle of traits. It's hard, medium, and soft. So don't make your villain a cardboard villain. He's not just a mustachioed, mwahaha cartoon kind of bad guy. He does have something that makes your reader go, oh, he's not so bad. You know he's bad. But let's say, for example, he really loves his mom and he visits her every Sunday. Or maybe he's got a beloved, cherished pet. Even though he's horrifically evil and terrible, there's one little piece of humanity in him which kind of gives your reader that little bit of, oh, but he's got this one saving grace. In spite of that, he's got to go down because we know he's evil. So that's one little tip that you can use to add a little drip of humanity into that villain so that when he's defeated, people have that little extra emotion because he did have that one good thing, but oh no, he was wicked and evil and had to go. So that's a quick overview for how to build a few items into that villainous character to make sure that your reader is rooting for him to lose and on the side of your good guy to win the day and in the end win the story. So with that, I'm going to throw it over to Kathleen, who's going to talk about the power subgroup and color in some amazing little shapes that are going to color this villain to be truly bad. So I will throw it to Kathleen.
Okay, so we're talking about the character group of power. Now, power isn't personal. Power isn't like cruelty. You can have a villain who has great power, but you have to layer the cruelty on separately. We covered that last time when we talked about sociability group, where we said that cruelty was pointed. You picked somebody out and you were mean to that particular person. So power is not the same. Power is more objective. It's against the physical world, but it does show the aptitudes, the abilities that the villain has to bring to the battle. The problem, of course, is that the villain is using his power, using his magnificence for an evil end. Either he is trying to take down someone who is innocent, whom he thinks is getting in the way of his goals, or more directly, that he is trying to pursue some direct advantage for himself. That's what he's out after in the real world. And he's using that power for his own private personal gain. Now, power, when it's in the hands of your hero, when he finally summons his courage and he finally manages to get to the point where he can do something with it, the hero's always using power to try to achieve some good end, some noble end, some end that's outside of himself, some end that's for a higher purpose. But you see, both are battling the same physical reality and the same challenges, and so that the power element is the same in both of them, but it makes all the difference in the world. Where are you trying to get? Is your villain trying to get back for himself, or is your hero trying to give it to others? And that makes all the difference in the world in the meaning of power and the meaning of that, how you direct that magnificence. Now let's take a look at the other side of it, which is magnanimity. Now, magnanimity is a trait that it's almost impossible to construct a villain with magnanimity. Magnanimity is that generosity of spirit that when you get there, when you climb that mountain, when you're standing on the top, when you know you did it and you summon the last of your own courage and strength and you got there, you stand on that mountain and you say, you know, I could never have gotten there if it weren't for my cousin Billy, who the night before I set out gave me that wonderful pep talk when I was all certain that I couldn't do it. And by golly, my mom and dad that gave me my drive. And the immediately first thing that that a hero of our story will do when he achieves that great, wonderful external goal is think of all of the people that he's grateful for to have gotten there. And of course, if it was a team effort, then he's likely to be saying, what? Don't be looking at me. What about this person, this person, this person? We were a team. Don't single me out. Here, let's all come together. It was us. We did this. And that is what magnanimity is. It's the sharing of the joy of the achievement against the physical world with all those who have a part in it, extending it out. And the beauty and the incredible, wonderful thing of magnificence is someone can honor your hero and say, wow, you did a fantastic job, John. You were spectacular. And John can say, oh no, but Marcia was in it every bit as much. She didn't bring her face forward. She was in the back room. But man, let me tell you, she put in the hours. And don't you dare credit me without crediting Marcia, because boy, oh boy, this would never have happened without her. Guess what? Did you lose any of your magnificence? No, it doubled. You gave an equal share to Marcia, and now both of you share that same great pool of magnificence. That's the incredible thing about magnanimity. When magnanimity shares the magnificence, it does not become diminished. It's not like a pie that has to be chopped up. The villain does not understand that. That's a huge part of what is the character flaw that makes a villain a villain. Villain thinks that everything is a zero-sum game. Well, if I give my little brother half of my cookie, I'll only have half left. Instead of realizing back at the childhood that if he gave his little brother half of his cookie, the two would be enjoying cookies together. They would both have the cookie enjoyment, and they would have the friendship of looking into each other's eyes and, oh, isn't this a fantastic cookie? Oh, and probably a hug at the end of it. And he didn't get that. He thinks that if anything that he gives up of his own is going to never come back to him. He doesn't have the idea of sow it out there, just give it out there, put it out there, and just trust that it will come back to you in ways that you cannot imagine. That's what the hero is missing. So if you want to write the story where the villain has to be taken down, and sure enough, he must be taken down, maybe you can take him down in such a way that he's forced to think about things and reanalyze his life. Maybe you can take him down in such a way that he looks at that hero that conquered him and say, I wish I had what he had, not the victory, but the friendships. And I don't have any friends in my life. What did I go wrong? Where did I go wrong? How can things become better? You know, you can always write hope even for the darkest villain. But that's story structure, and I will leave that up to Victoria because she's queen of story structure. So Victoria, what do you have to add to sum us up?
As always, it's amazing to me how well these things fit together. As you're thinking about your story and you're thinking about how do I want to write this villain and what do I want my reader to think and feel about this, I think Kathleen makes an excellent point, which is rather than just crushing that villain, what if your villain has some kind of the possibility of a transformation? That's interesting. That's way more interesting than just dropping a building on him. So when you're thinking about creating believable, relatable, complex characters, don't leave out of the mix the things that allow for things like hope and transformation and re-examining how one has lived one's life. I personally love the idea of taking a villain and crushing them, but crushing them in such a way that they have a transformation and maybe in, say, the second book of a series become an asset to the hero. No spoilers there, but I'm just thinking out loud. You never know what you can do when you start playing around with these things. So put those words on the page because they won't stay in your head forever, and start playing around with, if I'm going to write a really good bad guy, what do I want him to look like and how can I do that? We've got the tools over in LiLLiPub. Every Saturday we meet for fusion writing and share ideas and workshop our stories and really get at the heart of what good writing is. We would love to see you over there with us because we're only growing bigger. So if you want that small, intimate kind of community workshop experience, now's your chance, because as more people come on board, there will just be bigger and bigger groups. But it's pretty intimate and fun now. So do come and join us over in LiLLiPub.
Up, come join us, lillypub.org. You can find us, and we would love to meet you and workshop your writing. So see you over there. Bye-bye.
See ya. Thank you.